Are you a South African musician trying to figure out how to make money off a free performance? Welcome to this episode where I plan on sharing my opinions on that. Cue the intro! What's up, it's your boy Skill from skillmusicsa.com and welcome to my channel where I share information with my fellow South African musicians to help them improve on their music business. If this sounds interesting to you, please do consider subscribing as I do have other videos I think you'll find informative. In this video, I plan on sharing 5 ways I think you should be able to raise money at a free performance. Now, a free performance can be organized by you, it can be organized by another vendor, but whatever your situation is, if you find yourself performing for free, there are ways to make money even though you are performing for free. I'd also like to highlight that I do not think that performances should be free, but there are situations where you are paid in exposure. Now, if exposure does not pay the bills, but you find yourself in this situation, so I'm planning on giving you a way of making money from that exposure. One of the ways I suggest that you raise money is to leave a tip jar. Basically, how a tip jar works is you leave a tip jar, make it look very good, and as people walk past, they leave you a tip. It's something that is used by people that are busking, but there's no reason why hip-hop artists should not be using it. I suggest that you make the tip jar very flashy, flamboyant, put some effort into it, and then you will see rewards. An example, when I used the tip jar was when I was in the States, I was in Minnesota at the airport, and I realized that I actually ran out of dollars. I did not want to use the rands, so I played on one of the pianos at the airport. I put up my tip jar. My tip jar wasn't very flamboyant then. It was just like 2 red solo cups, and I put tip the pianist. And eventually I was able to raise about $60. It was like slightly more than $60, but that's how much I was able to raise in an hour of piano playing. I highly suggest that you do this, and preferably do it when you know people are loosely spending money. So if people are drinking alcohol, they are most likely to tip, even if it is, in South Africa's case, like 5 rand or 2 rand. The more you play, the better your music, the more the reaction, and the better your tip jar, the better the return on your investment. Another way you can raise money from a performance is to activate your mailing list. Now, the way this works is that you won't make money instantly when you get a mailing list, but in a lifetime of a user, you are able to make lots of money from them. So instead of taking 5 rand now, you're gonna take 500 rand over 5 years, for example. You basically get a mailing list while you're performing, get one of your friends to be getting emails or either WhatsApp numbers, and then you'll be able to communicate with the people that were at your performance to stream your latest songs, to download your latest songs, to watch videos on YouTube. But the concept is to try grab as much contact information so that you are able to monetize multiple times from that one performance. It will be free only if you're not trying to convert it to money. Another way to raise money off a live performance is to run an ongoing competition throughout your set. So let's say you have a set for 30 minutes and then you have an overarching theme. For example, I had an overarching theme for my last performance. It was called I Like Chicken. Basically, the way it works is you set up a sheet or any form of competition, and then people pay to get in. So it's not an expensive entry fee, so like the lowest coin you can think of that makes sense, so make it a 5 rand, and basically you ask them a question, and then the question for my case, which my song was called I Like Chicken, was Skill doesn't like beef, pork, lamb, or whatever, venison I think it was. What does Skill like? And then you make it simple, make it a multiple choice: chicken, beef nuggets, something else, and then you make a lucky draw. You call one of the people that are in the performance to pull out the draw, and then they win an X prize. In my case, I was performing in a pub, so I was able to give them 2 free beers. But in your case, you could be using anything that works in terms of the context. But the point is to try get the crowd involved in the competition, but you must be constantly reminding them what the answer to the raffle is, so they know that it's an easy thing to win. And 5 rand's not hard to let go of, so I highly suggest that as you're performing at the free performance, to have an ongoing competition, because this is a sure way to make money while you're performing. It would be a failed attempt at telling you 5 ways to raise money without mentioning selling merchandise or selling a hard copy of your CDs. It's very difficult to sell right now, and depending on how much it costs to make, you might have to be selling it for 30 rand, maybe 50 rand, but since it's a live performance, you can push the prices a little higher. How I did it, I suggest, is instead of selling the CD, you sell a USB drive with all your other content. I make a lot of videos. If you look at my Instagram and my YouTube and my Facebook pages, I have a lot of different videos, different forms of entertainment, and people just don't want to listen to music anymore. They want a more holistic view. So in my flash drive, I also gave them videos, I gave them songs, I gave them story about myself, and I gave them a little more content. And I was able to pitch that as I was performing. It's a great way to make money, and USB drives tend to be cheaper if you buy them bulk and you upload all your information with any service provider that is doing your CDs. But obviously you'll need money to make those CDs or the merchandise or the USB drives. So I highly suggest that you run a different separate financing campaign beforehand to try and make up the money that you will need to make your hard copies or your merchandise. Another tip in terms of merchandise, the merchandise usually works better when it's not specific to the artist, but your artist flair does come in. So for example, I'm wearing a shirt that says no beats for Mahala. This concept was made with my friend Silas Beats, and it is not specific to me or him, but this sweater does kind of appeal to producers and other people because it looks like Africa and it's telling you there's no beats for free. Now, I'm not saying that nothing should be for free, but if I'm going to be giving something for free, I will be usually getting some form of return now, later, or in the future. So free does not necessarily mean free all the time. And last but not least is one of the ones that I use, especially if I'm performing somewhere with affluent people, is that to have a purpose-driven donation sheet running around. So basically how the donation sheet is, you basically tell the audience that you're running a purpose-driven cause. In my case, I'm really big on sustainable energy, and I'm also really big on the elderly. So I perform at the elderly once every 6 months or so. So the way I run it is I tell the audience that I am very into this type of project, and I'd really appreciate it if you guys could donate. I'm not asking for a lot of money, just as much as you're willing to. Tell them up front that you will only be taking 20% because this performance is free, and the rest of the money will be donated to the specific cause. As I said earlier, my specific passion is renewable energy. So when I'm performing, I give them a different aspect to me being on stage. This really works when the crowd is not hostile and if it's a smaller, intimate type of vibe. If you're having house concerts, these concepts work really well. One final tip: think out of the box. You know this performance is going to be for free, so you have to think of ways to make money from the free performance. There are all sorts of costs that are allocated to you when you're going somewhere, so you need to cover those costs somehow. So you can simply tell the crowd that, guys, technically performing, I'm running at a loss because I came here with public transport or with a car and I had to pay for X, Y, and Z. So I need to kind of recuperate the costs. The more humor you have when you're explaining these type of situations, the better. And I highly suggest that when you perform, you always have another person to be covering the financing and sorting out, interacting with the crowd, getting the mailing list, getting the raffle tickets, getting the competition running, constantly walking around and visibly showing that this person is part of your entourage. So if they are wearing something similar, so if you perform with a bandana, he should or she should have the same bandana, or if you're rocking some apparel, he or she should be also rocking the apparel. That concludes this video where I gave you 5 ways you can be raising money at a free performance. Remember that this video is part of the financing campaign, and I did do a video before, 5 ways to raise funds for your video. I've left the link in the bio below. And if you found this video informative, please hit the thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you again for everyone who's been sending me messages. I do appreciate it. I've also got a WhatsApp group. I've left the link in the bio. You can join that group. I give weekly feedback and send other relevant information I think you will find informative. If you have any other ways you've used that you can raise at a free performance, please leave it in the comments below, because I'm helping you, you're helping me, and we're helping each other. That's how we will grow as independent musicians. And until next time, skill again, don't kill again.